Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a scene from the movie Halloween H20. So let's begin. These are the supplies that you'll need for today's drawing. You're going to need some black art paper. I use Arteza brand. It's a 90-pound 9 by 12 inch black art paper. I think it's great. I also have some charcoal pencils here. I have white. I have various black pencils, 6B, 4B, 2B, and HB. I have some white chalk pencils, and I'll put everything that I use in the description below. I have blending tools. I have two sets. This is for black and this is for white charcoal. And I basically have tortillon blenders, I have blending stumps, some soft foam blenders, paint brushes, and I've got some cotton swabs which blend the charcoal very well. I've already sketched out my stencil onto my art paper, and I'll leave a link in the description below of a PDF file that you can download, print, and use as your stencil. And to transfer the stencil, what I used today was this. This is white graphite paper. It's almost like the old carbon copy paper that you used to use, that I used to use when I worked in the offices way back in the late 80s and early 90s. But basically it transfers your stencil onto your paper. And if you don't have white graphite paper, you can follow the instructions that I have in my video, how to transfer your stencil onto your canvas. And I'll leave a link of that below in the description and in the card above. So I think that's all I have. Well, I do have a piece of wax paper handy. It helps to put my hand on when I'm, coloring in certain areas so I don't smudge my hand and myself. I have some paper towels just in case I want to wipe off my blending tools, but I think that's about it. So why don't we start? This is a scene from Halloween H20 when Jamie Lee Curtis looks out a little window in a door, and all of a sudden her brother Michael Myers is there staring at her. So it's a pretty cool scene. I love all the Halloween movies. All right, I've got my white charcoal pencil and I'm going to start with that. I have it looks like a bit of a complicated stencil, but it's really not, because if you can find that photo online, I suggest it's online. You can definitely find it. Use that as your reference photo and put it into a photo editing software and desaturate it completely so that you see it in black and white. And that's how you'll probably easily be able to see the values, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm going to put the lightest value in first, which is the whitest parts, okay? The darkest values are the blackest parts, and then we go along the gray scale. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white to certain areas. And I'm going to work my way down. I usually start with the eyes, actually, because it gives me a bit of a reference if I put the whitest part of the eyes in first. And usually there's that little twinkle in the eye there. My dog is snoring in the background. You might be able to hear that. See, when I start with the eyes, it actually helps me to localize everything else, because there's a lot of little lines along here and I don't want to confuse anybody. But I've done it that way so that I can see the different values. Okay, so right away I'm going to actually switch to my smaller charcoal pencil, white charcoal, because this one is a little bit more sharp and I like to do small details with the sharp one, and I'll use the more dull one to put in the lightest values. And I'm looking at my reference photo at the same time. I wish I could show you the reference photo. I really wish I could. But you know, it's copyright material. I don't have the permission to show that on my video, so I tried to do that once before. and I immediately got a copyright violation with YouTube, and I just want to steer clear of that kind of thing, because that meant I had to either take the video down or I had to edit it. And once I live in rural Canada, and I have what I call barnyard internet, so once a video that's about an hour or so long takes 8 to 9 hours to upload where I am. Once it's uploaded, I don't want to have to re-upload it, so I'm being very, very careful of any copyright violation. But I can suggest to you that you look for the photo on Google Images and find this photo. Like I said, easy to find. It's Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween H20, the movie Halloween H20, looking through the window at her brother Michael Myers. If you put all that in, I'm sure you'll find it. I'm just filling in, like I said, the lightest values right now, the whitest parts that I'm seeing on the reference photo. I'm sorry I keep clearing my throat. I had a sneezing fit just before I started this. Oh, gosh. When I have a sneezing fit, it's not 1 or 2 sneezes. I've counted up to 14, and it just seems like it's never going to stop. I don't know why. I don't have any allergies, but I guess once in a while a little bit of dust gets into my nose, and that's it for me. I'm just outlining the top of her mouth here because I don't want to lose that shape, because she's horrified in this photo. And I want to keep that emotion of horror present. I don't want to lose that. All right. Okay, I think those are all the lightest values on her. On Mike Myers, Mike Myers, not the Canadian comedian, Michael Myers, the crazy serial killer from the Halloween movies. Most of his mask is white, so I'm going to fill that in. But there are different values because he's in a bit of a shadow. I'm trying to make this look more or less realistic, so... I'm just going around the shapes that I know I want to keep a different color or a different value. So I'm just filling in the entire area in the middle with white charcoal, that is. And I'm not pressing too hard, and I'm actually using circular motion here. Because I find, especially with white charcoal, if you apply it in straight lines, when you blend, you'll see your straight lines. And sometimes you want to see straight lines, but in most cases, I personally don't want to see them, so little circles. And white charcoal blends best with a blending stump. Sometimes I start blending it with a cotton swab to soften it up a little bit, but most of the time I end up having to use a blending stump. There's just something about white charcoal, maybe it's too hard of a pencil. Actually, that made me a little curious. I wanted to look to see if it had a B rating or a number on it, but it doesn't really. It's got a number 558 on it, but I don't know what that means really, but it doesn't have like the dark charcoals. You know, 2B, 6B, HB. This just white. I'm a big fan of the Halloween movies. Some of them are a little cheesy, but I watch them every year, all of them, in October. And I'm so happy that Jamie Lee Curtis decided to do those movies again. You know, she continues doing the Halloween movies as an adult, and I think they're pretty good. Michael Myers seems never to be able to die. And some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of two amazingly beautiful superstars, movie stars, Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis, although Janet Leigh spells her last name Leigh. Jamie Lee's middle name is Lee. Beautiful people making beautiful children. Actually, in Halloween H20, Janet Leigh does have a little cameo there. She plays Jamie Lee Curtis's secretary, I think. And it's interesting because she's driving in the same car that she drove in Psycho. She was the unfortunate woman who was in the shower scene of Psycho. That was Janet Leigh. And she's driving the same car that she drove in Psycho in the movie H20, Halloween H20. It's pretty cool. So now I'm going to take my white chalk and I'm going to go and put in the next value lower than 100% white, which is kind of a darker white or maybe a lighter gray. And these chalk pencils are great for that value, but I find that they're kind of waxy and you have to sharpen them quite often. That's why I have 4 of them at the ready, because I have to keep switching when they get dull. When they get dull, you can't, there's no more pigment coming out of them. The chalk doesn't even, it won't come out, so. This is a relatively easy drawing, despite the way, you know, it might look complicated based on the stencil, but it's not really. There's only, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 values here, I believe. Now, the reason I stop once in a while is because I want to make sure that I'm putting the chalk in the right spots. Okay. My stomach is growling. You'll have to excuse me if you hear that. I have to switch chalk pencils already because it's becoming dull. Yeah, my stomach is growling because I was editing video. I have several channels. I have a Rain Francis Art for Kids channel. If you know any kids who like to draw or who want to learn how to draw, maybe you could send them over there, send the parents over to see if the parents are okay with my content. And I have another channel called Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Everything's linked below in the description, where I basically do videos of my kitchen and garden. And I was editing a video that I made old-fashioned bread, and boy, did that make the house smell good, and just editing the video made me hungry. That bread is long gone. Okay. We eat bread very fast in this house, especially when it's fresh. It's so good. One night we decided to forego dinner altogether and we just ate bread and butter because it had just come out of the oven. Most of her face down here is this other value, this sort of darker value of white. It's hard for me to see because I have very bright lights on, so I have to kind of back up every time to see the chalk. It doesn't really show up. Like, I can't see where I've colored in right now unless I go back. Or if I look through the lens of my camera, then I can see. Okay, our mouth is black. We've got the area in her lips here that has that value. And I've done everything else here. Okay, with Michael Myers, let's see. His nose is the same value here, chalk value. And all around his mask here, we've got that value as well. Jamie Lee Curtis was called the Scream Queen because she did so many horrors. I think it was in the 70s and 80s. Is that possible? I know she did the Halloweens. She did the Fog. Is it possible that she did something called Prom Night? I'm not sure. And it's funny because her mom, who was in Psycho, who was in the shower scene in Psycho and screaming in that one, I guess she was the original Scream Queen, her mom. I love Alfred Hitchcock. He's brilliant. Love his movies. All right, switching to another chalk pencil because it's wearing out already. But I'm almost done applying the chalk. And just around his ear. Anywhere else? Let me see. Nope. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my HB, which is the lightest black charcoal pencil I have. And for those who don't know, HB stands for hard black. The harder the pencil, the lighter the shade of black. 6B, the higher the number, the darker the shade of black, and the softer the pencil. Okay, I'm just going to finish off Michael Myers here because he's only got one more value here, which is I'm putting in as HB. And I'm kind of looking at my stuff. That's black. Oh, he's got two more values. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you there because he does have some black. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm sorry about this, guys. I'm going to take my darkest 6B and I'm going to fill in the areas that are supposed to remain black, okay? I don't want to confuse myself here. I'm going to switch between the 6B and the HB as I make my way down. Now I've got the HB. And as I'm going along, I'm kind of erasing my stencil lines. Back to the HB. I'm not pressing too hard because I just sharpened my pencils and I don't want them to break. The softer the pencil, the very more delicate it is with the sharpener. Back to the HB, I'm doing his little nostril. And there's a little spot here that's really dark. Okay, HB. Like I said, erasing stencil lines as I go down. And I'm turning my pencil once in a while so it doesn't wear down all on one side. There's a little spot that's very dark here that just shows where his mouth would be. Now I'm right-handed and ideally I should have started with Jamie Lee, you know, because I'm working this way. I don't want to smudge anything, but I really just wanted to get all the values in for Michael Myers. Because his is relatively easy, like I said. 4 values for him. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a value is basically a shade of black and white on the grayscale. got the 6B. Just putting in some dark black here. And then back here we've got HB. And again, I'm erasing my stencil lines. All right. Now what I'm going to do with the 6B, again, is I'm just going to go around the outside of Michael Myers very, very lightly and erase the stencil lines out there and add a little bit of black. I know my paper is black, but I like to have a little bit of dark black around the subject all the time. And I blend that sort of really well so it's not too obvious that I've got a little bit of black around there. And I'll blend all of that in later. All right, let's start with Jamie Lee. Okay, so with Jamie Lee, we're going to start with the HB. I might do the same thing, go between the HB and the 6B. If I forget to mention it, and you're following along, the HB has got a green tip on it, okay? So I've got her hair here that's going to be all 6B. But I will start with filling in, let's see, the HB colors here. Like I said, I'm probably going to switch back and forth as I go along because I don't want to miss anywhere. There's a lot of little detail in her face. I've got the 6B because there's a very dark area next to her nose. And I've got the 6B again above here, which is most likely her eyebrow, is very dark. And like before, I'm trying to erase my stencil lines as I go along. There's a little bit of black right here. I'll erase these stencil lines right away, but like I said, all of this is going to be black, and I'm going to apply all that later. Because it's a really large area, and I want to have my 6B nice and sharp right now. So let's look at her eye. I'll apply the HB first. And I am looking at my stencil, okay? I'm looking at my, not my stencil, I'm looking at my reference photo. I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask and it's hard. Hard to do that. Let me take the 6B and put in the really dark values right away, just so I don't miss doing it. Okay. Why don't I work on this eye while I'm at it? I've got the 6B still. There's a little spot in there that's a little lighter black value. So that's the HB. This area here is all a lighter value. Now I've got the very dark 6B, there's a spot here that I forgot. Her eye goes up like this, and in here too I forgot to color in her eyeball. It's quite dark. There's a little spot there that I'm going to take my white charcoal, because I had forgotten there's a little bit of a white area here. And here too, there's a little bit of a highlight. Okay. That's all going to blend in. All right. This is all okay. There's a little here. Now let's look at her nose. This area is her nostril area. It's kind of in the shadow, so we don't really make it out. But there's a dark sort of area here. And let's see, let me use my 2B. This area is a little darker, actually. That's the 6B. And I'm going to work my way down here with the 2B. Okay, this area here, I had put chalk here, but I'm actually going to put 6B here. All this area down here is, I said 6B, I meant 2B. I'm sorry about that. All this area here is very dark, but not as dark as the 6B, so I'm using the HB. It's working out pretty well. Now there's a line here. I want to keep that line because it's a little lighter and it kind of indicates where her chin is, but it's, she's looking through a round glass. That's why her face is kind of cut off from the glass and in the shadow. So this is the glass area here. I'll draw it out for you so you can see it, and I can erase it later. See, it's kind of a round like that. That's not a very good round, but you get the idea. All right, I'm back to the 6B, the 2B. So sorry about that. Oh my goodness. Maybe I'm getting affected by the Halloween movie ideas. They're making me nervous. All right, what else do we have? Still using the 2B, just around her chin. Okay. And I've got the 6B. Now I'm going to fill in the entire mouth area. That's completely black. Okay, she's got her lip kind of comes out here. I want to make sure it looks really like her lip there. I'm going to take my white charcoal again. She's got just a little dot on her lip here. And there's a little dot up there. Okay. 6B again, under her chin. Under her lip, I mean, on her chin. Okay, I think I've got everything in there. Now I have to basically, I'm going to draw it out for you so you can see, but all of this area here, I'm going to make it all black. Everything inside here is going to be black. And the window that she's looking out kind of comes around like this. So I'm going to make all that black as well. And I may be using a lot of black because I would like it to be quite dark around Michael Myers also. So I know that the paper's black, but I really, really want it to be dark. So here I go. This is just me applying black everywhere. And I'm going to be turning my pencil because I don't want it to wear down all on one side, okay? So if you're following along at this point, just fill in the black everywhere. Or if you like it the way it is, that's fine. If you don't feel like putting black in everywhere, if you think your paper is dark enough, that's okay. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not coloring in the entire area, okay? Because the thing with the 6B, it's a very soft pencil. It creates a lot of dust. And what you can do after you, I'll show you right now so that you understand what I'm talking about. This is just a dollar store flat brush. When you're blending, it creates a lot of dust, and you can pick up that dust and put it somewhere else. So there's a lot of dust that is created from the 6B, so you don't have to be too meticulous in filling in every little spot. The only places I'm being meticulous now are around the stencil area, so I can erase my lines, and to make sure that I don't get any of that 6B into the other values. And I want to maintain that circle. I think that's her hairline. I love the first two Halloweens because they were filmed, I think, at least a year apart, but part 2 leaves off exactly where part 1 ended. So you could watch them together and it would be like watching a 4-hour movie or a 3-hour movie. That's pretty good. But you know, those horror films of the 70s and early 80s, they're all like, you know, there's always the gratuitous sex scene, let's say. It's so silly. There's always a girl without a top on who's screaming and being killed by the serial killer of the movie. Could be Halloween, could be Friday the 13th. You kind of come to expect that when you're watching these horror movies, but not the later ones, though. Like the H20 one that Jamie Lee Curtis made, and I believe it was called H20 because she made it in 2020. Is that possible? No, it wasn't. It was much earlier than that. There's no gratuitous nudity in that one. But who is that rapper? Is it Tone Loc? Or is it Iced? Not Iced Tea. Not Ice Cube. Or is it... I can't remember his name. He was in it. He was really good in that. It wasn't Tone Loc. It wasn't. Okay, I'm going to have to think about this as I color in the black here. If you know that, let me know in the comments. I just can't remember as I can see his face right in front of me, but I can't remember his name. He was in a bunch of movies. I think he was in a movie with Stallone, too. I hope I can get all of this on here without having to stop to sharpen. Because the 6Bs are so hard to sharpen. They always break in my sharpener. I'll try my best here. You know, usually I blend as I go, but this one I decided not to. I wanted to get everything on the page and then blend after. All right, I managed to get all the 6B on there without having to sharpen. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my dollar store flat brush and just soften up all that HB. And I'm going over the whole thing, as you can see, except for the really white parts. And I'll go over with the cotton swab after. And then you'll see some dust. Like already there's a lot of dust here. So one thing I want to tell you is charcoal dust is not good for breathing in. I've got my dogs and my cats in the room with me. I would not blow on this to try to get all the charcoal dust off. I would take this over the garbage and blow on it there if you have to. It can be messy. Okay, for now I'm going to leave that brush, and I'm going to start blending in the white. Now I've got a blending stump here. It's a large one, 7 16ths, and I'm going to get a piece of paper towel handy. Because as you blend, you need to wipe, or else the blending stump doesn't work very well. So I'm going to start with the larger areas where I applied white charcoal. And I'm just blending in a circular motion, and I'm not pressing down too hard. And though I'm trying just to get the white, it's inevitable that I'll get other areas. But I'm trying to stick with the white for now. And I'm not going to do her eyes yet, because I'm going to use a smaller blending tool for that, because I don't want to lose that detail. I'm just wiping it off. Right, it's starting to look a little realistic. All right, now let's do Michael Myers' mask. Just the white area for now. And like I said, I'm not really pressing down too hard. If you press down too hard on your blending stump while you're blending, or any tool that you're using to blend, you might damage your paper slightly, and you won't be able to add more layers if you want to. And blending will be kind of disastrous after that. You could rip your paper. I'm just wiping off camera as I go along. I'm just kind of going up and down. I really want to make sure that white charcoal is well blended. for now, that's fine. I'm going to take a small blending tool. It's called a tortillon blender. It's tiny and it's got a nice hard tip. So that's what I'm going to use just to very, very gently blend the white of her eyes, okay? And that little twinkle in her eye. And maybe this one here. And there's that little line here. I'm blending that. I don't want it to be stark white. So I'm pressing down a little harder than I would normally. I just want there to be a nuance of a line there. Let's just go over this again. Okay, I don't know if I got this area here, so there we go. Now I'm going to take a cotton swab, and anywhere where I put chalk, I'm just going to blend that in. Actually, there's a little bit of white charcoal there, I believe. I'm going to go ahead and blend that in with the blending stump. Because white charcoal does not blend well with anything other than the blending stumps and the tortillons, in my opinion. I've tried to blend with cotton swabs and that doesn't work very well. All right, going in and blending where I put the chalk. And if you're using cotton swabs, you've got to turn them once in a while because if they get too dirty, they stop blending. And also, if they get too worn down, they could start damaging your paper, your canvas. You don't want that. But it blends really well. The chalk blends really well with cotton swabs. Okay, I think I got that pretty well. I have to, because of my bright lights, I have to kind of get up, look through my camera lens once in a while, just to see if it's blended okay. Because it's all shiny and sometimes I can't even see what I've been blending. All right, let's work on Michael Myers here. And I'm going to go over this after with a blending stump to blend in all of the harsh edges. Maybe not on his mask too much, but definitely on her face. And right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of blending the entire area except for the really dark 6B. So anywhere that I saw that I had HB, I'm kind of blending that into at the same time because there isn't too much on his mask. Okay. Now I'm going to start on the 6B. I'm going to use cotton swabs for that. And I'm going to work top to bottom, left to right. Working in little circles, and I'm not pressing hard. And I am going over certain areas, as you can see, to kind of help blend them in a little bit. Trying to keep that circle. Okay. I might have to add a little more dark there for his eye. I do go through a lot of these cotton swabs when I'm blending because I can feel it when they're getting kind of thin. They don't blend as well, and they kind of they leave kind of marks on the page, so I don't want to do that. I will go with the blending stump after, though. I'm just trying to get it initially blended here, moving the charcoal all over the page. But you can see lines, and I'm going to get rid of those. So it's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to take my black blending stump. It's very well used. I forgot to wipe it down last time I used it, I think. And I'm going over that entire area again. Very, very lightly. It's kind of leaving streaks. I don't like that. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me see. I know why, because I had a little, I don't know if you can see that little white mark. There's a piece of the blending stump that broke off, and it was leaving streaks. It was scratching my page. I hope I didn't damage my paper there. I'm very, very lightly going over the black. Every Thursday on my blog, I host an art date, and I have the links in the description below. It's rainfrancisart.com, or you could type in rainfrancis.com. For now, they're the same blog. And I also put pictures of food and my pets and my lifestyle and all that up on my blog, but it's called Rain's Thursday Art and Dinner Date. And you can post a link to your blog where you feature your art or some food that you've made or a recipe. It's themed, but you don't have to follow the themes or the prompts. They're optional. And this week, of course, for the spooky season, the theme or the prompt was masks. And I'm not talking about COVID masks, I'm talking about Halloween or scary masks. So that's why I chose to do this scene from Halloween H20. Michael Myers with his scary mask that I have read is actually a mask of William Shatner. He was the one who posed for the mask. William Shatner. Good Canadian boy. The original Captain Kirk. There isn't too much scary about him. Okay, I'm going to walk away from this and see what I have to do now. All right, well, I'm looking through my camera lens, and there are some areas that I do want to make a little darker, and I also want to blend more. So I'm going to take my 6B, the dark one, that's very, very dull right now, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix up some areas that I want to be really, really dark, like Michael Myers' eye. And just a little area here in his mask, the nose, and his mouth. Okay, I want those to be really dark. And maybe Jamie Lee Curtis's nose could be a little darker. Her eyes here. And her mouth. Could use a little more dark here. Now I'm going to take my white charcoal and I'm going to fix her eye up a little bit there. And where's my 6B again? Her mouth is a little wider. All right. Put a little more white there. I want to highlight her mouth a little bit so it really looks like she's like doing that. But I don't want it to be as obvious as that, so just slight highlighting there. And I'm going to blend in her mouth here and her eye there too, and her nose. Let's see. I think she looks pretty terrified there. Let me blend in his eye. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm going to try to go in and blend all of the areas that are white out. And I'm pressing a little hard, not too hard as to break the paper, but I want it to look blended in these areas. I don't want to necessarily see stark lines. I'm not touching the eyes though. The eyes are going to stay that way. I'm just softening up. And that little line down there as well. Soften that up. Okay, I think that looks all right. I think she's doing well. And I'm going to soften up Michael Myers' mask where the white is on the edges. Let me wipe this down a bit. I may have to fix up his mask a little bit because I'm not sure I'm happy with it. There's too much of a difference between the white and the dark surrounding areas. Now I have to look through my camera lens again to see. Yeah, I think I'm going to fix that. I'm going to take my little white charcoal, and everywhere that I put chalk, I'm going to make it a little bit whiter. I want his mask to really stand out. Right, let's blend that in and see how it looks. I'll use the blending stump for that. Oh, I just noticed there's an area here I forgot. There. It's not as white as this part, but that's absolutely fine because he's supposed to be partly in the shadow, but I just thought that the chalk was just a little too hidden. And I'm going to have to go in and fix his mouth again, and maybe the eyes, I don't know. Okay, let me look through the camera. It's a little okay, that's a little better, but I don't like this division here, so I'm pressing down hard to try to blend that a little better. And I'm going to try to fix his nose here and his eye. It's a little bigger. And it goes down a little like this. His mouth is just a little triangle. Let's see if we've got a cotton swab. Yep, I can fix that a little here. His nostril's a little too big, so I'm going to take my white and let's see. Blending stump. And 6B again. That's a little better, I think. I've got the 6B here. Okay, and I'll take a little cotton swab and just soften those areas up there. Now let's take a look at that and see if I need to do anything else. The last thing I just want to finish off is I'm not sure I like her mouth. I want to make it like it's a little wider because she's really horrified right now. I think that's a little better. Let me look through my camera lens here. Yep, I think that's okay. She looks a little more horrified in the actual scene, but I think this is okay. I'm pretty happy with this. I hope that you enjoyed this today, my friends, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave me a comment. I love reading them, and I do reply to them. So until next time on Rain Francis Art, this is Rain. Bye.